With the release of Scream 6 on March 10th, 2023, the fan base was divided. Some called it the greatest Scream since the original. Others called it the worst in the entire franchise. Now, there are certain things that ruined this movie for some, like the underutilization of Gale and Kirby, the lack of creativity in the kills, and ultimately the final act reveal of Detective Bailey and his two children. Now, some herald this sequel as the best because of the use of New York City, because of the beginning. It was a creative start to this Scream installment with revealing the killer right off the bat and having 5 killers in this sequel. But is it possible that we could have gotten a Scream movie that everybody loved and it was undeniably the greatest sequel in the entire franchise? Let me take a stab at it. This is how I would have written Scream 6. So I'm actually going to keep the beginning with Jason killing his Tinder date in the alleyway. I thought that was very creative, and I loved the reveal. And they actually held on him and they didn't go to the credits. I thought that was a very strong part of Scream 6, so we're going to keep it in our script. Everything actually stays the same up until Jason goes to his dorm room and he is on the phone with Ghostface. So it's revealed that Greg, his partner in crime, is cut up in the refrigerator, but I'm going to change up the kill. It's going to be a little bit more fucked up, but way more creative. So when Jason opens the refrigerator, we all know that Ghostface winds up being in the apartment with him, and he gets stabbed to death. He gets fast, vicious stabs till his death. So that's going to be the same. He's going to get stabbed violently and fast, just how Ghostface was doing in Scream 6. But as Jason is bleeding out on the floor, Ghostface is going to grab Greg's head out of the refrigerator, and he is going to beat Jason to death with it until we get our opening credits of Scream 6. After credits cut to Gale at home with her new boy toy. We will just call him Gale's boyfriend in our script. He actually works for Gale's TV show. So Gale and her boyfriend are sitting on the couch watching TV or whatever is on at the time. But the whole time, Gale's boyfriend is asking her what's been up with her since she has not been quite the same since the last Ghostface killings in Woodsboro and the death of Dewey. Now, I like the fast-paced vibe of Scream 6, so I don't want to ruin it. So this Gale scene will be cross-cut with the Sam therapy scene, which means they are happening at the same time. We just cut between the two. So Gale's more distant personality has been affecting her television show, and people are noticing it. She might be taken off TV even though her book sales are up from her book on the most recent Woodsboro murders. Gale gives no response to her boyfriend as he checks up on her mental state, just stares blankly out the window. The Sam therapy scene will play out the same as the movie, where she is telling the therapist how she actually liked murdering Richie. So that was all good stuff, keeping it in our script. Cut back to Gale and her boyfriend. He is still trying to get Gale to open up to him, however, Gale is having none of it. She silently gets up and walks out of the room. Cut to the party scene. Everything here plays out the same as it did in the movie. Sam finds out where Tara is. Creepy guy at the party drags Tara up the steps. Chad comes in for the save. Sam comes in with a tase to the balls. That was all great stuff. Hilarious, great character building for the Core 4. No reason to get rid of it. So now we are at the Core 4 apartment. They find out about Ghostface on the television as the news is reporting Greg and Jason's murder. They get called to the police department just as they did in the original, and they get attacked at the bodega. Ghostface mask will be dropped at the crime scene. Kirby's revealed. This all stays the same in our script. Now for the breakdown of the rule scene. It stays mostly the same, except I would dial down Mindy a bit, and she won't be pointing fingers as much as she did in the real script. The main difference to this speech is that she emphasizes that one of the Core 4 will die. She says she knows this because the original Core 4 only lasted the original installment. Uncle Randy died in the sequel. So now we are at the death of Quinn, and this death is going to happen for real in our script. Quinn gets decapitated. We see this from the point of view of Sam's boyfriend. Her headless body is thrown from the room at the Core 4. This takes us to the ladder scene. This plays out the same with Annika dying, but for extra intensity, I think we have Mindy and Annika on the ladder at the same time. And as Ghostface flips the ladder, Mindy grabs a hold of Sam's boyfriend's hand at the last second, and she dangles from the window as she watches her girlfriend fall to her death in the alleyway. We see Detective Bailey grieve over the death of his daughter. We find out about the theater the same we did in the original script. We then search for Ghostface at the park. Gale fights Ghostface the same. The boyfriend dies the same, but at least in our script, we established his character as he works with Gale on the television show that she runs. And he wasn't just in the movie for 2 seconds just to be some meat for Ghostface to slice up. In our script, Gale also got more screen time as she got more screen time. Gale got more screen time in our script as we saw her in the beginning. We established her grieving the loss of Dewey. We set up her character as more of a distant version of Gale. Gale lives in our script, by the way. So now the subway scene. In our script, Mindy actually left alone on the other train, not with Ethan. So Ethan is on the train with the other members of the Core 4, and Mindy is actually alone on the subway this time. We have the same awesome sequence of Ghostface slowly approaching. However, when the lights flicker back on, there is now 2 Ghostfaces, and both creep towards Mindy and eventually stab her repeatedly in the back of the train. Mindy is seemingly dead. Now we are at the theater, our final act. We have made it to the final act. We have mainly kept things the same, except we added more screen time for Gale. We added in some time with Gale's boyfriend. We dialed back Mindy so she wasn't as annoying with the whole pointing fingers thing of Ethan, you're Ghostface, you're Ghostface. We also separated Ethan from Mindy in the train. That's where we are. Now it's time for our final act. Our final act still has the kiss between Tara and Chad because I'm all for that relationship. Kirby is still framed as Ghostface by Detective Bailey. I thought that was a good red herring. We're going to keep it. Sam tells Chad and Tara it's Kirby as they go to confront Kirby. Tara is stabbed in the back of her shoulder like in the real script. The chase ensues. Chad throws the camera again because that was funny as fuck. Eventually Sam, Tara, and Chad are cut off by 2 other Ghostfaces. A stare down ensues for a quick second. Chad looks back to the Carpenter sisters and tells them to run. Chad charges at one of the Ghostfaces, tackling him to the floor. The other Ghostface rips him off and has a hold of him. The other Ghostface grabs hold of the other arm, and he gets stabbed just as he did in the original script. However, we're going to dial back the number of stabs so it's more plausible that Chad can survive. The Carpenter sisters run into the theater room where Detective Bailey has just entered. The 2 Ghostfaces that seemingly killed Chad come out and stand alongside Bailey. They are revealed to be Ethan and a random stranger. Bailey says, "You still don't get it, do you?" He laughs evilly. Evilly? Is that even a word? Let's change that. He laughs maniacally. We have been counting down this day. 9 unmasked Ghostface appear from the shadows of the theater. They are all randoms. Bailey goes on to explain his son has inspired dozens of people to continue his film. He is there to avenge his son. He will stop at nothing to avenge his son. In fact, even beheading his own daughter because she threatened to rat out the cult of Ghostface to the police as things had gone farther than she was comfortable with. He goes on to say there is no bond like that of a father and his first son. The Carpenter sisters are now surrounded by the cult of Ghostface. This might be where my script jumps the shark, but it's so cool I'm going to write it in anyway. The random Ghostfaces charge Sam and Tara. Both of them are armed with knives they acquired earlier from the shrine of Billy and Stu. They are back to back. Sam brutally murders the first 2 Ghostfaces that come her way. Tara is stabbed in the gut, but at the same time as she is stabbed, she stabs her attacker in the neck, killing him or her. So 3 out of 11 Ghostfaces are dead now. I made sure that there was 11 killers because there is a killer for every killer that came before. So 9 plus 2, Ethan and Bailey. Anyways, after 3 ghost faces are picked off, Sam and Tara run because the numbers are too much to take head on. During the chase, we get plenty of jump scares, and we see that this theater is bigger than in the original script. We see other rooms and other sequences that we didn't get quite before. During this sequence, Sam picks off majority of the remaining random ghost faces. Ethan and Bailey follow the trail of dead corpses up to the balcony. After seeing a number of dead cult members, Ethan snaps. He uses his knife to disfigure one of the corpses out of pure anger. Bailey puts his hand on his son's shoulder and says, "Come on, son. Let's finish this for Richie." When we see Sam and Tara again, they are finishing off the remaining unknown cult members. As they do this, Bailey appears on the balcony armed with his gun. Without hesitation, Bailey fires a shot. At the same time, Tara quickly jumps in front of the bullet and it hits her in the shoulder. The impact of the shot causes Tara to fall from the balcony. Sam catches her at the last second by the arm. We get the "you have to let me go" line that we got in the original script. Sam lets her go as she drops down and kills Ethan. So she's hanging like this and she's got the knife in her hand. As she falls, she basically does an elbow drop with the knife, stabs Ethan right in the forehead, killing him. Sam runs at Bailey. He fires 2 shots and Sam gets hit in the shoulder and grazed in the head. Bailey is now out of bullets. He throws his gun away. Sam gives a creepy smile as blood pours from the side of her head where she was grazed. Both charge at each other. We get the ending of the original script where Sam dresses as Ghostface to execute Bailey. After she stabs his arms repeatedly, Bailey says, "You can't stop what we have already started. They will come. They will come." Tara then hands Sam her knife. With 2 knives, Sam stabs Bailey in the ears, rips them out, and then stabs Bailey in his eyes. So 2 knives to the ears, 2 knives to the eyes. Tara seems scared of her sister, but then breaks down into tears because she thinks Chad is dead. We get the final scare from Ethan, then Kirby kills him with the TV. Everyone gets carried out. We learn Gale survived, Mindy has slipped into a coma due to her wounds, and Chad will only live if he gets an operation right away. So that's it. That is how I would have written Scream 6. I kept a lot of it the same because I was one of the people that actually enjoyed the hell out of Scream 6. So I kept the basic premise because I feel like the general consensus is that Scream 6 was one of the better sequels in the franchise up until the final act. So I kept the beats the same because it was a great first 2 acts. I mean, the beginning with revealing Jason, the ladder scene, the bodega scene with the shotgun, all of that was great. Counting down with the Ghostface masks, that was also great. But in this version, we have Cult of Ghostface revealed in the 3rd act. We have Detective Bailey beheading his own daughter because she threatened to rat out the Cult of Ghostface. So we eliminate that hokey little bit where Quinn faked her death and he got away with it by slapping on a prosthetic. We got rid of that in our script. We beheaded Quinn. We had the Cult of Ghostface. We had, instead of that awkward where Detective Bailey has the gun but he still chooses to charge at Sam, he actually fired a bullet into Tara because Tara jumped in the way of the bullet for her sister. We get the awesome Let Me Go scene, and that completes that arc that Scream 6 was doing with the Carpenter sisters of, Sam having to let the younger sister go. And we get an awesome elbow drop by Tara with the knife through Ethan's forehead, and somehow he survives that for the final kill. It's Scream logic. How did he survive the knife in his mouth? I mean, come on. I set up a character arc for Gale to fulfill in Scream 7, because in my Scream 7, we would have Sydney go to the hospital and visit Gale after she figures out that the Ghostface has seemingly been killed. And then that can set up a character arc for Gale to finally open up to Sydney, a legacy character, because in our script, Gale wouldn't actually open up to her boy toy, her boyfriend. And finally, she would open up to Sydney about the loss of Dewey and how much of an effect that has actually put on her mentally. And that would set up for Gale to want to come back stronger than ever once she learns about the cult of Ghostface, who in my script, my version of this trilogy, the leader of the cult of Ghostface would be none other than Stu. That's right, Stu Macher would be the ultimate overarching killer in my trilogy, and Scream 6 would only tease you at it. I think ending on a cliffhanger with Detective Bailey saying, "They will come. They will come." I think that would be a great note to leave the movie on and the franchise on, leading us to Scream 6, because it's inevitably coming. We all know it. Go check out my Scream 7 pitches if you haven't already. I did 3 pitches for Scream 7. But yeah, we also fixed the crazy plot armor, because Mindy didn't come out of her stabbings unscathed to come crack a joke at the end. No, Mindy slipped into a coma. Her attacker really did a number on her. Her wounds were serious and she has slipped into a coma. And I also wrote in our script that Chad will only live if he gets an operation right away. So in my script, Scream 7 would have to start right from this point. And I think it would be amazing if we can see Chad getting taken to the hospital, and then the driver of the ambulance was a part of the cult of Ghostface. And Sam and Tara have to save the hijacked ambulance and save Chad. And then we can do maybe a time jump, so then Mindy is out of her coma and Chad is all healed up, and they all reconnect for an eventual showdown with Stu Macher and the cult of Ghostface. But yeah, that was how I would have written Scream 6. Kept a lot the same, changed and fine-tuned the parts that everybody is hating on, especially that final act, and we gave everybody what they wanted with the cult of Ghostface. Tell me what you thought of my script down below. Please leave a like, subscribe if you feel so inclined to do so. It would help me out a lot. I'm trying to build this channel up. There is only one more thing to say. Are you not entertained?